We're gonna follow step by step the Openbuilds YouTube video. So between these package sets, we're gonna start with, I believe, it's the power case, power supply. I believe these are one of our gantry plates. You need to find a bunch of wheels. So I will look at my packing list and find out which package that is. Individually wrapped packages are more or less just bubble wrap, and once you unpack them you can get a much clearer view of what's inside. These are the screws. I've opened up a few. This is corner brackets. I found the wrench in the screw bag, so I'll just kind of show you. Just makes things easier when trying to hunt these pieces down to start with. So I'm just cutting along the fat side of all this foam, so I don't hopefully cut into the bag with all the items in there. So that foam's gone. This will be our bag. Okay, so these are, I believe, our extreme wheels, our motor spacers, and some more angle brackets. Okay, we're going to start with step one of assembling the wheels. While searching for the bearings, I did come across this other set, which maybe it's obvious to other people, but I just wanted to make sure. There are these two different types of bearings. This one is a sealed one, and this is just a regular bearing. And with these regular bearings, there's 8 total. So obviously these wouldn't go with the wheels because there's 27 odd ones. And then this other package, which is separate, contains all these same sealed type of bearings. So just be careful of that. I'm going to begin assembling the wheels, and it's pretty straightforward. A wheel, 2 bearings, and a precision washer, I think they call it. Step 1, pretty tight fit, but you can just press this bearing in with your hand, your fingers. 2, put in this washer, spacer, whatever you call it. What this does is just keeps this inside from collapsing, and also this washer just kind of keeps contact in between the center race of the bearings and just makes it a solid all the way in between. So once you tighten these bolts down, it's, you know, there's going to be no flex. So 1 bearing, and then there's a lot more to go, so I will just do these in the background. One thing I noticed when putting together some of these bearings, if you put them together correctly, everything should be pretty flush. Just putting these, I put all these together by hand, or so far, and so this one came out pretty good, flush. And then there were a few that I just kind of put out to the side. They were a little bit proud, or sticking out a little bit. And I didn't want to force it, and after looking at the inside of this wheel, if you see, there's a tiny little lip in there. And once you get your first bearing in, it goes in very easy flush. And so when you put in your second, I guess I was just assuming it would stay in there and be fine, but when I would put in the second bearing, I would tilt it or something, or maybe I'd try to squeeze it, and this washer would get caught on that lip and it would not press down all the way. So this one, you can see it's a little off center. So I believe the edge of that is resting on that lip. So yeah, it's a little snug in there. So if I just move it with this screwdriver, it's loose again. What I'm going to do is just kind of center it, hold this wheel vertical, and then that little click you heard was it going in the rest of the way. Damn it. The next step is going to be assembling our XL gantry plate to our 20 by 80 by 250 millimeter aluminum profile. We're going to be attaching this plate to our aluminum with these T-slots, and we have 4 of them, and we're going to run 2 on each side. Go ahead, put these in. You can see there's a little threaded area. Put these in with the flat side facing the opening. And what you want to do now is these are the larger holes and small holes. You want the larger holes on the bottom, but the side with the counter bores, you want those facing the aluminum. So, and you can just look at this giant milled out square, and that goes towards the aluminum. And blocks, you know, your blocks are up. So what we're gonna do is screw through these holes to attach to these T-nuts. So to get a general spacing, or I guess we'll space it ahead of time, just kind of hold your plate up here and drag them, you know, in the approximate location. So once we toss our plate on top, and we should just be able to drop in our screws. We should be able to see our T-nuts. Just drop those in. Get them screwing, and just screw them enough where they catch. No need to tighten yet. That'll be the next step. So we screw third screw. That caught. And I believe this one. Hold on. Catch. Okay. Next step is to make this bottom end flush. You could probably just kind of hold your fingertips or your thumbs kind of flush with that edge. That would probably work. But we have, I guess, a straight edge here. This is another gantry plate that came with the kit. I'm just going to set those both on top, and that should square it up. I wouldn't use my table because this thing is so warped. As you can see, this is our straight plate. You know, this is cupped in, so as long as I'm on this plate, it should be fine. So now, with this plate lining up the bottom edge, now we can snug these down. And after each step, just kind of go through the manual and just verify everything's in the right direction. Like, these blocks are facing you, and make sure they're on the right side of the plate. You know, the counter bores are on the back side. You know, take your time. Get it right the first time. Next step is to assemble and sandwich our hardware in between these two gantry plates. I'm going to leave all my baggies together, mainly so they nicely separated these 6mm, 9mm spacers, and also these screw sizes you see over there. I'd rather not measure them. I can just look at the bag and know what size they are, so I'm just going to kind of piecemeal them out. So this is going to be following their exact directions, and to start off we grab 4 65mm screws and insert them onto the recessed area, and note this big holes at the bottom. And his next instructions are to take painter's tape just to hold these screws down or in place while we stack up our hardware. So important, big holes are on the bottom. These are eccentric, so these will be our adjustment wheels. These are stationary or fixed. So to start our stack up, first we grab our eccentric spacer. So this is eccentric, is basically means off center, and this lip edge will sit into this hole, and what this does is when it spins you can adjust the position of this shaft or screw. So when you install it, lip side down, hex side up, this should screw right on, and with a little bit of wiggling, this should just sit there nice and flush. So grab this next one, same thing, lip side down, and so that fits on there nicely. Next up, I'm keeping a little side tray here of some of the smaller parts. Next up on the stack up, precision washer. Next, our extreme wheels. Just make sure the washer there is centered or clear. You just take a little bit of wiggling, it'll just slide right on. Next up, 9mm spacers. One on each eccentric side. Another set of our extreme wheels. Some precision shims. And then our eccentric spacers. This side lip up, so this will be the opposite of the ones we put on the bottom. So hex side down. So that makes our eccentric stack. So our fixed stack, we are going to use 6mm spacers. if I can grab these. 6mm spacers, a precision shim, extreme wheels. Kind of off center, but yeah, they recommend spinning these if they don't fit. Next will be our 9mm spacers. Our last set of wheels, starting to look nifty now. Another set of precision shims. And a 6mm spacer. Ta-da! Okay, so we're gonna line up our counter bores on the inside towards the eccentric spacers. The next step is adding these washers and the black nylon hex nuts. So what he's recommending when they stamp these out, there's kind of a rounded side and a flat side. They say put the flat side down, so we'll put the flat side down. And I think these are much more so there's continuous pressure as they clamp these down. And since these holes are bigger, it's just there to ensure that there's pressure all around. So black nylon lock nuts for these guys. We'll just thread them on by hand for now. Just get them a little snug, and then once they bite just a touch, they should be on there where we can kind of screw them on or use the tools. With these eccentric spacers, they're kind of twisting this shaft in and out as they adjust. And now that I have two eccentric spacers, they might be, just off center with them. So I do remember him saying that there's these little logos on there. I don't know if that'll focus in, but it says 6mm. It's kind of just a marking. And he says it's best to have them facing the same way. So now we have all four etchings towards the bottom. And I'll tighten this down. Snug, I should say. We are going to assemble our our cast aluminum corner plates to our gantry plate and our aluminum profile. Because of, I don't know, the geometry, the way it works, probably this, well, I'm not really sure exactly why, but in the bolt that attaches this bracket to this gantry plate is M5 by 8 millimeters, and the one into the T-nut will be 10 millimeter, M5 by 10 millimeter. So first, we take our M5 T-slot nut, put it in, 2 on each side. Flat side out. And we are just going to space these. Don't mind that heater. Heater just kicked on. It's extremely cold out. Well, not extreme cold out, but it's gonna get very cold in the next couple days. So we line up this T-nut with our hole, and we'll just start here. So, like I said, 8 millimeter and 10 millimeters. Only 2 millimeters, which is, you know, less than 1/8 of an inch difference. But I'm sure it makes a difference here for some reason. First, we're going to, actually, I think I'm going to kind of do it backwards from what they did. I think once we screw into this T-nut, well, this will give us our ability to move our bracket a little bit easier into alignment, since these T-nuts can just kind of wander around. So 10 millimeter. See how easy that is? I'm lying. This is a real struggle. Okay, we caught it. Eight. Wow, that thing is super rigid. Not gonna lie.